Hello chickies, welcome to the Fully Booked Penguin channel. I am Hannah and today we are doing our May reading wrap up and review and general musings. We are outside. Why? Because it's the only warm spot in the house. So, in May, I actually ended up reading 8 books. I didn't get through my TBR. I didn't end up reading Ranger's Apprentice, which, you know, sad, because it is a fairly easy book to read. I just never got around to it. And then I was going to also read Guard in the Garden, but I don't know whether I'm just off elves and dwarves and things and really, like, specific fantasy. Like, I'm only a chapter in. So I don't have much of an opinion yet, is what I'm saying. I'm finding it hard to get into it. Maybe I'll do a video at some point where I go through all the TBR videos and read the books that I skipped on. Anyway, so I have a pile of books here. They were pretty much all physical, except for one digital, which was a KMShay one, where we finished off a series. So let me get organised here, and we shall get into the reviews. Okay, so the first book we read was Castle of the Winds by Christina Baehr, and it is book 3 in the Secrets of Ormdale series. In this we are following Edith, who suddenly becomes the keeper of dragons in Ormdale. At an abbey, there's all these dragons and things. In this one, they set off to find out about other dragon communities that is in Wales. And it's sort of a period fantasy dragons situation. And we're following Edith and Simon as they go on this adventure. Now, what I love about Christina's series is she is good at describing things, like description, without going into too much detail. So you get a picture, but it doesn't go into the itty bitty details that where you're like, I don't care about all these details. Honestly, just get on with it. I am a person that doesn't like to be drowned in details. I prefer to be just given a rough gist and let my imagination take me away. Now Edith, she was a little bit gullible, in the most best wishing, nice, kind of way, but she was still falling for things that you could see coming a mile away. Like, this book has a lot of cultish vibes, and she's there trying to understand the community, and I'm just like, and she's there trying to debate with this bloke who is, yeah, a bit cultish in his beliefs. He's like, yes, but my community is thriving underneath, you know, the community might not be thriving. And meanwhile, her community is sort of poor. And so she's like, oh, maybe this guy has a point. And I'm like, well, maybe not. Or maybe he's just running a cult. And he sort of is the whole, oh no, religion is what is wrong with the world kind of viewpoint. When really... But I did love Simon in this. Simon, in the beginning, couldn't care less about Simon. Then in book 2, he grew on me a little bit. In this book, my poor lad grew on me even more. He is probably one of my favourite characters in this. You go into this thinking it will just be her going to this place and finding dragons. Turns into, like, a competition for a marriage. And she goes with Simon. When I first finished it, I didn't know how to rate it because there were bits that just annoyed me, and so many things where she's like, oh no, I've got this handled, it's all under control. My lass, you're in their territory. Even from the very beginning, there was very sus vibes. There were signs, and she was ignoring all the signs. In fact, even when she was told there were signs, she put it off to, oh, you're misjudging this community that is obviously strange. And it did leave on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is, I think, is probably the main reason why I didn't like it as much, because I hate cliffhangers. I do. I don't mind a little bit, but I like things to be happily wrapped up each time, which is probably a me problem. It is a me problem, but I think it's because of the reason it's a cliffhanger. I ended up giving it a 4 stars. As I say, the dragony bits, the bits with the dragons and the little adventures and Simon were nice. It was just all the, I guess, social observations I don't know whether she was making an argument for something or against something. Either way, it did come off a little bit, I don't know whether it was preachy, because I have no clue. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to get the nuances of the message, but yeah, it was a little bit strange for me. Anyway, so that was book 3 in the Secrets of Horndale series, Castle of the Winds by Christina Baehr, and I gave it 4 stars. Still enjoyed it, had a goofy time, but it was more serious and solemn and a lot of different things happening in the background and the foreground, which I was like, ew, about. Next up we have Trixie Belden, The Mysterious Visitor by Julie Campbell, and it is a mystery, middle grade mystery, and it follows Trixie Belden, who is a very young sleuth who just keeps finding herself in mystery situations, and everyone's like, dude, you need to stop thinking everything is a mystery. And she's like, but everything is a mystery. Trixie suspects someone, and really she just spends the rest of the book proving what she suspects is true. And meanwhile everyone else is saying, look, Trixie, you need to calm down, you're being mean, this person is obviously a grand person and you are being like too delved into mystery mode, and you need to look at the facts that even though this person doesn't seem to like you much, the rest of us love him. Even though we were a bit questionable about him, now we're his biggest fan. So in this we meet Di, who is also a classmate and her family's been mentioned in the previous books. But in this, she's so insufferable. She cries at the drop of the hat, and her whole issue is that she's rich. And she's like, you wouldn't understand, Trixie, because you're not rich. What? It really is rich privilege. She's like, you wouldn't understand how hard it is to be rich. You wouldn't understand how tough it is. And I'm like, if there are struggles, but, you know, there's also not struggles. We also have Mart, who is Trixie's brother. And now Mart could be her, like, right-hand man. They could have this sibling detective agency if he didn't just tease her. And he likes to just go against her on things for the sake of being a brother. He's like, oh, Trixie, you're crazy. But at the same time, he's secretly agreeing with her. And I'm like, dude, just support your sister, please. Because everyone, literally everyone else, is against her. And I hate every single one of them. Even Honey in this was unsupportive. Because she is also rich and understands what a trial it is to be rich. And I'm just, and you know, Jim used to be my dude. I used to adore Jim. And in the first 2 books, I actually do like Jim, mainly the first book. And as time has gone on, he's become so insufferable. I don't know what I saw in him the first read through of these books, or the second, or the third, but now that I'm on the 4th. But anyway, the mystery isn't much of a mystery because you kind of, in the beginning, know what's going on, but it's figure out why that thing is that thing. So the mystery isn't very intriguing because you're like, well, we're just going to solve this problem of proving it to literally everyone else. And in the meantime, getting in a bit of trouble. I wish I could be the support for her because I am very supportive of Trixie. Sometimes she is a bit annoying, but the others are more annoying, if that makes sense. So for The Mysterious Visitor by Julie Campbell, I'm going to give it a 4 stars. Again, another 4 stars. We love to see the 4s out here. It was fun. And this is like a middle grade, okay? So I'm judging it off middle grade-esqueness. I'm not going to be that adult who comes into kids' books and then he's like, it wasn't the most invigorating reading I've ever read. It didn't have the nuances of like adult fiction. I'm like, maybe because children are reading this and developing that reading sense. So it's a 4 stars. But I love Trixie and her mystery solving ways, so still love it, but it is slightly funny. Alright, then we have book 3, which is going to be Beyond the Heather Hills, which is the 4th book in the Martha Years quad. What do they go? Quadlet? Quadlet? I don't know. Anyway, there's 4 books in this part of the series, and it is by Melissa Wiley. We're following Martha, who is now, I don't know. She's now 10. Such an old lass. No, she's 10 and she goes off to visit her now married sister, Grizzy. And Perth Scotland is the place she goes to. But there's a grumpy old man in the house, and she actually comes to terms with death for the first time. Obviously she's seen death before, but not quite as in your face, human style. And the household is a bit depressing, so you see Martha really get faced with some really solemn thoughts. She's usually out on the fields, you know, having a funny goofy time, and in this one she's not. She's in the city, surrounded by squalor and, you know, strange people that don't act the same way that her loving community does. It was nice to see when she got home, she was like, oh my gosh, miss Joel. And we get like a little view of Lewis Tucker, and there's a cute moment. Obviously they're young children, but it was cute because you know they end up getting married. But I just wish that rather than end the series here, we did get to see more of her and Lewis's relationship and how they got together, because it's very much that she's the lard's daughter, and that requires a certain aspect of, you know, peerage. But then she gets married to the blacksmith, and so I feel like there's a story there that could have been told, could have been spun up, but this is where hers ends, and then we go to her, she's married with kids in Charlotte's books. And then they also go to America. In this one, they're in Scotland. By the next series, they're in America. So I'm like, there was so much room for more with Martha. That would have been so interesting. This one I didn't love as much as the others, simply because of that aspect of she wasn't in her hometown, so she didn't have quite the same amount of just home comfiness and herself as a young bright spark of the community. I mean, we got a little bit, but it wasn't quite the same, which I know is just kids growing up. Same thing happened in Anne. She lost her spark as soon as she grew up, and Martha, I don't think, loses most of her spark because you see her in the next ones. Obviously she's a mum, so she's responsible and more grown up, but she's still got that spark, so the following books would have been so amazing, but we don't get them. Following the theme, I think I gave it a 4 stars as well. It was nice, but it did cover some more solemn aspects, and she was away from home, so you don't get to see the other lovely characters and home that she's had for the first 3 books. Oh, also, I always have to give it the Duncan Morse update. He appears. He's mentioned. Barely any show for Duncan, who, if you don't know, is obviously Martha's brother, and I don't know, I got attached to him in book 1, and then after book 1 you barely see him, so as is my lot in life, I attach to a character that has very little spot in the world, and then I'm left wondering what happened to Duncan. So that is the 4th book in the Martha years, Beyond the Heather Hills by Melissa Wiley. Alright, next up we have Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 3, and this is by Gwon, Gyeoeul, and the illustration is by SUOL. So in this we're following Penelope, and she has entered a game on hard mode, so she's trying to win a route as the villainess, but the game is so difficult that at every turn, pretty much, the villainess dies. At the moment, she's trying to win over the knight, and she's doing okay. The thing with this is you feel the tension, because she's there to survive. There's no love involved at this point, at least. She's just there to try and not die, to try and finish this route so she can escape this hellhole that she's found herself in. And I think this isn't like a goofy fun time. There are serious aspects. You feel the anxiety. You see what has happened to Penelope in the past and the present. There's still this sort of prejudice against her, even though she's never really done anything too bad. I mean, near the end she was, acting up, but she was provoked most of the time. You just feel so bad for our Penelope. It is a stress. You have to breathe your way through it kind of situation. Now, in the characters in this, the Duke, so her father, is growing on me. I mean, he's still fickle. I still don't trust him to stand up for her if something bad were to happen. The older brother, I hate him so much. No. Anyway, and then there's this brother who, he's just fickle. All the brothers are fickle. One moment they're trashing her out and saying that they hate her. The next they're like, oh, she's ignoring me. Dude, you've literally spent all her, and like from childhood to now, years bullying the poor girl, and now you're like, why doesn't she like me? Why doesn't she call me brother anymore? Why the heck would she? I honestly, oh, and the Crown Prince reappears. Look, I don't think the Crown Prince is bad. I think he's got a bad rep, and he needs to calm down with his sword wielding at our girl. But I think he might be just misunderstood, like our main character. I think he's got a lot going on, a lot of bad guys coming at him at all sides, and he's like, listen, let me just murder them back before they murder me. He's surviving in a way that I think Penelope wish she could, just by murdering anyone. Just murder anyone that steps in her way, but she can't do that because she is the more likely to be murdered. They're also going on a hunt. They've just started this hunt, and everyone's like, just don't do what you did last time by aiming a crossbow at the ladies. And I'm like, sometimes you need to though. Sometimes some ladies deserve a crossbow bolt aimed at them to just give them a bit of reality check, you know? Anyway, so this is a bit stress-inducing, but I do love it. I enjoy the art. It's not like a fluffy YA manhwa. It's more of a situation where you're on the main character's side. You pretty much hate everyone else and you just want her to survive. You're equally behind her survival. I wish her all the best. In the end, I gave Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 3, a 4.5. It was enjoyable. I had a fun time. I am suspicious of everyone. Everyone who is not Penelope, and maybe the Crown Prince. I don't know. Is he scary at times? Yes, but I think he's, purposely scary. I think he's misunderstood like Penelope, so therefore Crown Prince isn't in the bad books either. Even though he did hurt her, like, sword to the throat. But what's a bit of lovers to enemies? All's fair in love and enemies and war and peace and all that. So yes, 4.5 stars for that lovely morsel right there. Now next up we have Norah of Billabong by Mary Grant Bruce, and this is book 3 in the Billabong series. So in this we're following Norah, who has been at school, like a boarding school, and her father and brother have been on the station, which the father owns. It's a cattle and sheep station, mostly cattle, and Norah is coming home over the Christmas break. She hasn't been home in like a year, so she's very much wanting to get home and be with her mates again. She has Jean, her school buddy that she met, and Jean is all her own person but also super sweet, so I'm glad she found a friend. And then we have Wally. Wally is also visiting. My love for Wally just radiates. I love Wally. Wally is the one person from childhood books that hasn't disappointed me. Wally is my guy. Wally is a family friend. Well, Jim's friend that has then become pretty much family. And he's the jokester. He's the mood setter for sure. He is so cute. Yeah, all his scenes I love. I could highlight all of his scenes because that lad. Anyway, and Norah's good too. They're all very Australian, like outback Australian. This was written in the 1900s, early, like 1910. And so there's some language in it that I go into more in my review. So I would check out the review for more in-depth stuff that I did critique about sort of mostly just the ending of it. Some of the language used. I just point out that yes, it's accurate for the time. Should it have been? No. So you have to go in with a bit of critical line thinking and a bit of empathy. I guess it's the same as with other historical novels where it's very misogynistic, but they're like, well, that was accurate to that time. Women were considered less than. And in this, yeah, it's not that they're cruel on purpose, but it is like an ingrained sort of idea that Aboriginals are sort of less intelligent, which is obviously incorrect. But it's a similar situation with those historical novels, and this is Australian history, unfortunately. But there's nothing cruel, necessarily. I'm more eloquent in the review. I don't know if I just butchered by trying to tell you, but I love the mateship, the characters, the Wally, and sort of the outback Australian, rural Australian, like, ambiance that is kind of lost because a lot of Australia is city Australia. And, the actual culture of outback Australia is often missed for the clichés and the bogans of Australia. The mateship, the bond between neighbours. Nowadays. Oh well. I took a star off because of the language used. Just because I don't enjoy it in books. And therefore, obviously, a star is taken away. But I acknowledge the accuracy of it. But I don't have to enjoy it. So that was Norah of Billabong by Mary Grant Bruce. Book 3 in the Billabong series. And it was a 4 stars from me. Next up, we have The Queen's Crown by K.M. Shea, which is the 3rd and final book in the Court of Midnight and Deception trilogy, which is part of the Magiford Supernatural City series as a whole. So in this, we are following Layla, who becomes the Night Court Queen of the Fae against her wishes. And she struggles to right her court, and the boundary of the court is lessening, and magic is sort of slowly dying. And she keeps having assassination attempts on her life. And in book 1, she actually chooses one of her assassins to be her husbando, because she needs to get married as one of the laws. In this book, the final one, I had a suspicion against who the bad guys were the whole way through, because I'm a very suspicious-minded person, and so you're trying to figure out this mystery. I saw in some comments, in reviews, that they were like, oh, I knew who the bad guy was because of this one scene, and I had suspicions, but you don't know why until later on. Like, once you know, it's pretty clear. But I found the mystery aspect fun, and we also have the male main character, who I adore. Okay, he grew on me, hated him. Just thought he was a bit bland, to be honest. By the end, I enjoyed him. He was now my favourite. I mean, it's not hard to win over Killian Drake from the first series. Hall of Blood and Mercy, he's the main character in that. And Gyeoeul is 100% now in first position. Again, Gyeoeul, Killian Drake. And then we have Layla, and then we have Hazel. Layla is the current girl, and I just love her sassiness. Her ability to give sass to the whole of the Fae is so much fun. As they say, it's a supernatural urban fantasy. So there's Fae and werewolves and vampires and elves. Or rumours of elves. But it was a nice end to the series. As I say, I'm not going into too much detail because it's the 3rd book in a series. But it was fun and I enjoyed myself. Once I get started reading something, I fly through it. But sometimes it just takes me a minute to get into the book, like started the book, and then I'm like, okay, read this in 2 days. It was a 4.5 from me. It was fun. I enjoyed myself while reading it. So that was The Queen's Crown by K.M. Shea at 4.5 stars. Next up, we have Skip Beat by Yoshiki Nakamura, and it is volumes 13 to 15. Now I'm going to go through each volume and give a brief non-spoilery mention. But overall, this is about Kyoko, who becomes an actress after being betrayed by a childhood friend, and she swears revenge on him. And that is why she joins the acting business, the showbiz, but she quickly finds that she actually really enjoys acting, and she has a senior in the company who is Ren Suruga, and he actually helps her out in, finding and pursuing this dream. It is a shoujo manga. I'm trying to it's slice of life, but there's a little bit of supernatural because she has these little ghosties that are her rage, little ghosties, and it's kind of cute, to be honest. The ghosties have little personalities too, and most of it is vengeful, but it's kind of cute as well. So to go through the volumes, first we have volume 13. In volume 13 we pick up as Ren, who was threatened with being fired because on the certain set he couldn't deliver the lines because he had never known love truly, and he had a past which we actually delve into later in the volume. It comes together as an acting test, which he says, yeah, I got this. In fact, we're going to improvise. I'm going to go off script, and the girl I'm with will follow. And don't worry, I'll get her to act the way I want her to. and the actress gets a little angry over those statements, and the test begins. So we get to see Ren's acting chops, and also, you know, Kyoko see, because she helped him get to that point. Oh, it was just so much fun to see the acting. Even though it's images, I have a good imagination, so it does come out as like a full-on movie. We also delve a bit into his past, which was really nice to see. We're getting little glimpses. We don't know the full story, but we know that he's not all sunshine and rainbows, let's just put it that way. Gwon, which is Kyoko's little rock, and Kyoko are there to, you know, cheer him up afterwards, and it's so cute seeing them get closer, but also, you know, they have a share past that Kyoko doesn't know about. I love seeing men adore the women they love, so, or like... Then we get to volume 14, which we meet Shotaro, the childhood friend again. But Kyoko isn't happy, because Shotaro is meant to be the person she's trying to beat into showbiz. He's being beaten by another group that are copying him. Oh, so she's mad that he's getting eaten by people who are copying him. She's like, get your head into gear, stop moping. Come on, be a worthy rival of me, please. We have the Bagels, the Beagles. I call them the Bagels, which is different from Kyoko. She calls them the Beagles. The band name is actually called Beagle. And she mishears it as Beagle. And so she thinks of them as little yappy dogs. But this group is creepy, and they give major creepy vibes, especially one of the members who can see Kyoko's little ghosties, and so it's not much fun. But you know, we see a bit of back and forth from Ren's point of view to Kyoko's point of view, and I think that's fun. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch. But then we get to volume 15, and now volume 15 comes with trigger warnings, because there is an assault, sexual harassment and assault. Not super detailed, but it is assault. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. So that may be very triggering. The person responsible is very much stalkery and creepy, and you feel that. You feel the tension. And also, I think it kind of does a good job at showing the whole thing of like a power play when it comes to harassment, because obviously the attacker is in a position where they can ruin Kyoko's life and career, and yet that doesn't make what he did any less horrible. But she's like, the victim is almost can't do anything, or doesn't want to do anything because of the situation. Yeah, I wish that the attacker got more comeuppance. There's a little bit, like, it's not satisfying because it's not done properly, but it is, I think, accurate to a lot of victims' experiences. I think it does end up handling it quite well, and it's really nice to see everyone on Kyoko's side gathering around her and helping her out, but it doesn't decrease the anxiety of the moment and what she's going through, because she's a rather strong character, but it's just, the fear, and it depicts, you know how there's the fight or flight reflex, but then there's also freeze, and it definitely shows the freeze aspect, as well as, that victim unable to speak up, but also a protective, community around her as well. So it's an interestingly handled, but I think it was handled pretty good. That volume is not all like laughs and humor, it's rather dark, so just be forewarned about that if that's a sensitive topic to you. But as I say, you love Kyoko and her little band of family. 100% is it found family, because Kyoko is pretty much by herself, but all her little characters around her just adore her so much and gather around her, and it's so sweet to see. So that's why I love this series, and gave it a 5-star. Kyoko Megami is one of my favorite female characters because of the depth, and also just the story and different side characters that you get so attached to. So good. Again, there's some more mature topics. So I don't know, by this point, after a certain point, it turns more serious. It's not really a young shoujo audience. I think it's more a young adult audience. But I love Gyeoeul and Ren and the team, so it's a 5-star, 100% for me. Finally, we have Penguin Highway by Tomihiko Morini. I don't know what to do about this book. This is a science fiction, it's Japanese translated novel. It's got magic realism in it, and we're following like a 4th grader, whatever age that is. And it's just a little different from your average 4th grader. He doesn't come across as a kid. He comes across as a mini adult. He has some really childish thoughts though, which I will go into right now, because you can tell it's written by a man, because it does mention breasts a lot. And it's just a bit weird. And there's also some crude moments with the bully, the main character's bully. It's just like, why did that need to be in there? There were moments that I'm like, it didn't add to the story. I think it may have been a man thinking, oh, this is humorous. This is so far from humorous that I'm getting the cringe, almost like I don't want to finish this book. But the penguins and the science fiction stuff, some of it was it's fiction. It's science fiction. I'm trying to give you airy-fairy stories about different things that obviously don't make any sense. But you got to take everything with a bit of a grain of salt. But yeah, it was just certain moments I was like, oh, you're ruining my experience by mentioning this sort of semi-sexualized moments. And I'm like, it really didn't have to be in there. It didn't add anything to the book. In fact, it detracted from it. But I loved, the mystery plot, the penguins, the dentist lady, who never gets a name, by the way. Everyone else gets a name. Dentist lady is just the lady all the way through, which I think may have been a choice. So I enjoyed it, except for the, crude and then, mentions of female anatomy a lot. So I was so tossed up because I finished the book and I was like, that was so much fun. Especially near the end, we just ran through. But then it is a melancholy ending as well. Like, if you skip little bits, but you can't really skip over it. Then you just read it and then you're like, oh, I wish that sentence had been removed. I loved the penguin plot, the mystery plot, but I hated those other aspects. So I ended up giving it a 3 stars. It's worth the read, and I enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun. But then there was just certain aspects that either went into too much conversation, or the crude and other topics that I'm like, did you have to? Or are you just finding that funny or amusing because you are a man writing this? I hate when it comes to moments like this, because I'm like, I love the rest of it. I really enjoyed myself. It's a little bit different. There's only 4 chapters in the whole thing, so it's slightly sad. But I do think a 3-star is what I'm going to rest on. If you're interested in sci-fi magic realism with a bit of... It's written in a way that is journal. So you're reading the kid's journal, pretty much. And of course he is convinced that he's going to marry the lady. For Penguin Highway, I wish it didn't have certain bits, because then it would be a favourite book. But it did. So, 3 stars for Penguin Highway by Tomihiko Morini. So that brings us to a wrap on all 8 books I read during May. I hope your May reading was fun as well. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or whether any of them were on your TBR, and we can discuss down below. Or, if you have a reading vlog, you can just be like, hey, I actually read it in this video, and I will watch it, because I'm not good at creating community, but I can join in one. And I'm like, am I a nuisance? So yeah, those are my 8 books. I had fun. As I say, some moments in there, but I'm excited to continue reading, because it is an excellent hobby to have. And I shall see you all in the next video. And until then, peace.
T26